All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. I believe we've made it to November. I think it's the first. Um, we didn't get tricked or treated or none of that stuff out here, even though I kind of started just for the thought of it, is with all the extra power, is getting some of those LED blow up things that light up and putting them out just for no reason. I've never really done any decorations in my life. I just wanted to like throw on a light, I mean, for just no reason, and I couldn't really think of a light that I wanted. Then I thought, like one of them big snowman things or whatever, I mean, just and that kind of made just give me a tickle when I thought about it. That was earlier this morning. Um, is here we are with the new sand battery. Will maybe it's just going to be the Iron Man, the electric Iron Man or something like that. But is the doodle marks that I've made so far? You can't hardly see them. Is there's a hole? Is the only reason I was doodling on it is so I didn't like cut into something that I couldn't fix easily, um, and then or have something that runs into other real estate that's needed for whatever, and that's exactly what happened. So it's a it's nothing to like shape or size or nothing like that. If I do anything, is I'll start with the seam where that sub arc weld, and I'll use that as the center, and then I'll make everything off of that. Um, the and just put the big circle, right in the center is what I'm trying to get at. And the big circle will go into this dude right here, um, into the with this pipe right there, that stainless steel flexible pipe. But it'll go inside this can into this, so this will be down in the bottom of it. I'll just use a little bit of sand like mortar, um, to lock it in nice and tight, but where you could still knock it out if you needed to. In the bottom of this vessel is I'll open up the bottom just enough to make changing out the element possible. Is I added these little tabs in here, and that's that little triangle that is underneath the element itself. Um, and that way it'll hold the element off of the bottom or whatever stable. It'll hold the element off the thing. When I build this, is I'm going to use a cap. I haven't found it yet, um, or just something to hold space, and then a plate with a bolt through the center. In that way, the pipes can rest on it without going any deeper. Is what I'm trying to get at until the unit's filled, and then they won't shift. But until then, I don't want them to move. Is what I'm trying to get at. Is just for the assembly of it. But this is so I can pull it out and replace it or whatever like that. And another reason I did it this way is because the wiring got hot both times. The second time was more dramatic. Is that brass nut really enhanced what was going on? But I can run the wires. It'll go this way. Is I can run the wires through the air intake to the element, and then just change it out when I do because I got it. I use stainless steel nuts and bolts is what I'm trying to get at to make the contact. I don't trust a plug in that kind of heat. I don't think they make a plug. You'd have to fabricate your own kind of deal to that I know of. I don't know of any plugs that handle that kind of heat. But that's where I'm at with this. And like I said, I just doodle on everything. It's stainless steel. A little bit of 320 sandpaper. It'll clean right up. Polish it even. You can't. Stainless steel is rough to work with, y'all. If you've never played with it very much, even hitting this weld right here, all broke my thumbnail, like cracked it right off, smashed it back. And yeah, I'm a big boy, and I'm going to whine about it, but I'm just saying it'll eat your lunch, and and that's somebody who's worked with it. It'll still get you, is what I'm trying to get at. And I wasn't being like whippy or nothing like that. You can see how it makes the divot marks in the stainless steel. That's the drill catching. And I don't have a drill press that would have made that safe. I just had to do it, kind of Western, so with a half-inch Milwaukee and go on. Probably not the wisest thing to do. I'll just be honest with you. But when I did the doodling on the tank, it wasn't like squared to anything. I just did so I knew where it would be internally. These are where those pipes will come up from that. They won't go through the deal here. Is I'll only fill the cavity this deep, and then where it makes the elbow backing up, because I want these to come up, come out, and then where you see the black dots that go on the side, there's another one right there, and probably another one like right there, I'm just going to use an elbow at the bottom in the same 3/4 inch, but then run it kind of like diagonal to the hole over here, using the hole that's down here to hold the pipe up. When I put this in, as I'll only bury it maybe that deep around, just the very bottom of it, just to lock it in. And then everything else will be above that. This pipe here won't be there because of this is what I'm trying to get out. I'll run it a different direction and put it in somewhere else. It'll be the only one that's long compared to the rest. The rest will be just up, over, and down. And this one will have probably like 2 inches in it or whatever to get it farther away. But only because it comes out where that pipe is and all that. And then the box will be right here. It's 10 by 12. The controller box that'll be on the back of it. And I'm not real sure. I'm going to go to Ace and see what kind of metal they have. It doesn't have to be fancy is what I'm trying to get at. Like 1-inch strap or 3/4 inch, if it's heavy enough, would be more than enough to make the C with the ear to bolt into the tank and then, come out and make the C bracket like that. For the box, imaginary box to bolt on the back, to stand it off. Like 2 inches on the sides, so it's about 1 inch from that seam would be more than enough. Yeah, the tank will radiate quite a bit of heat, but that's the deal about stainless steel. This is not what you would want to use. You would want to use aluminum, so it would deliberately radiate the heat, and you just want to make the standoff farther. This is not going to... It'll radiate, but not that much. And if I put a plate of stainless steel behind the box, it'll pretty much mitigate all that. Just with a nylon washer standoff. All that's gone. But is I'm going to use the box as the air intake for the pipe to go into the deal. That way all the wires can run through the tubing through there, hides it all. The box will just have one of them, the IC 320 plugs, like on a computer, that kind of goofy cord. But there's another name for it. It's like something 700-ish kind of number. Like 320 is for the 10 amp. Then they make another one like for 15 amp. Same exact looking plug. Both cords will work in it, but if you got a bigger amperage deal, you don't want to use the smaller plug. But 6 and 6. All the guts for the box and all the guts are coming Thursday. It's already confirmed. Amazon says it's already on its way. The only thing I don't have is like some M6 bolts. I have the what do you call that? Like I put out in the rack in the back. The riv nut, the stainless steel riv nut, I can put in the tank and in those straps. But I just need to get a package of bolts, like 1 inch long, 3/4 inch, something like that. Not much more. This is what one of those units I was talking about, except it would have a bell kind of a top where the controllers and all the crap go on top of it. This is just another bottom that I cut free from another tank that I used the skin or the steel from. Probably the ugly, or probably from the wood stove, the gasifier that I made is where the tank from that one went. These are just internal parts from the same stuff, is what I'm trying to get at. Good heavy deal. Like I said, I'm going to see if Ace has a piece of strap steel. It would make it so much easier. If not, I'll cut a like 3/4 inch strip of that tank and make one out of it. Either way, 6 and 6. But just to stand the controller box off. I got the breakers, I got the fans and all that. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is I'm mounting it to the back and running it through like that, so I can have one fan running into the box with vents on the other side to cool off the um, the solid state. Even though it's AC, they don't get very hot. It's still better to keep them cool, especially if you got 1,000 watt load, and that's the old element. If the new element I have is stainless steel, so it should handle the temperature much better. And I'm going to try a trick. We don't know if it's going to work or not because I'm not like whatever electrical engineer. I'm just me. And I'm going to mess with the resistance and try to get it down to about 600 watts instead of 1,000, lowering what is the runaway or the thermal saturation temperature. We'll see if it works. If it don't, we'll go with the other one. That little catch that I made is pretty universal, and I didn't want to get any farther than this, like putting it together, until the elements come, and that way I know it'll work. Is what I'm trying to get at. There's no reason to put it together only to find out that you have to take it all back apart, especially if you have it or if you have it cemented in. That would be like no way no. Very bad, man. And I don't have enough copper pipe to go up and back down for something that big. I still got to go pick that up at like Ace or something like that. But it shouldn't be that much. Like 20 foot, two 10-foot sticks, more than enough. And it'll have leftover is what I'm trying to get at. I don't want to know the price of that. I'm going to guesstimate a couple $100. I'm hoping it's not much more than that. But that's also the street elbows, the 2 sets of 90s and the street elbow to get it, up and down. And the reason I want it to go up and down is, one, to distribute the heat, to capture all because once you start blowing past the element, you're going to cause a lot of heat to come out the flue. Two, I want it all to exit at the floor level, and that way it's not, while it's charging, it's useful, is what I'm trying to get at. Even when the element is off and you still want to get heat from it, you just keep the fan running and it still blows the air, and the copper extracts the energy and blows it out. This is going to be good. And the reason I went with this is because I couldn't do any of those kind of things with putting it on top of the ugly Iron Man. And it was only like 8 inches deep of sand. It was very small. If this works as good as I'm hoping, is I might take first put it on a caster, on a dolly, and have a way to pivot it and hold it up like from the ceiling or a hoist or something like that, so I can lay it down, even though it's not going to be like insane amount of weight, but it'll still be several hundred pounds. But what I was meaning is get a big, like a 55-gallon drum caster, because this is only 16 inches wide. And a 55-gallon drum, I think, is like 2 foot or something like that. They're bigger. But get a 55-gallon drum caster, put a flat bottom in it with the same hole that this one would have, sit it down in the center, and then just use what do you call that stuff? Flashing, like I did for the ugly Iron Man. The forms were nothing more than flashing, and I put it on, cast it, and then the first piece of flashing would stay until I did the second, and then the first one would come off because I didn't need it anymore once I did the second ring. But just cast that completely solid over the top even. Because once it's done, there's nothing in the top that you need. But I mean, just make it big concrete all the way out where you can't touch metal. Because at 700 degrees, that is too hot to touch. And that's exactly how hot it can get, or more. So be forewarned. The PID controller's for a reason, to keep it safe enough not to burn you. Like I'll keep it shut down to like 300 degrees until I can figure out a way to wrap it with something. Then you can turn it up to whatever you want. Like 1,000. The sand registered the day before it died. The sand was registering 785. To melt brass, you're talking minimum 1,600. To melt the steel, to form the steel, 2,000-ish. I mean, that's a lot of heat that dude was making. But it was also taking the flue gas and sucking it back through. It did a runaway is what it came down to. This will keep that from happening because it'll always be fresh air from the box either passing through or getting pushed out with a second fan to the deal. And when the coil's off, this fan would shut off that goes into the box, and when you just need heat, it would just pull the air through the vent holes or whatever, because only the one fan would need to run. Well, we'll get it farther from here. There's nothing to show you inside, just empty stainless steel deal. And it still has like dirt. That was inside of a sealed vessel that got through the top, and that's just that dust blowing. It's not like it was able to flood or nothing like that. That was just the dust blowing around. And yeah, I've swept up the floor, and I actually swept it 3 times. And y'all, you can't tell. That damn talc, the dust that we have here is horrible. I want to do, when this is all done, when the other side is done, is I want to do all tile, but I want to get somebody like professional to help me like design it, make the, I want to do it real trick, like with patterns and weird, my dad was a tile person. He didn't do it for a living, but that was his passion. And so I know what good tile looks like, and I'd like to have a good tile floor is what I'm saying. I've never done tile in my life, but I'm willing to try at least once. So, but that's years down the line. That's a 3-year project right there to put tile on the floor, because I'm nowhere near that area yet. First, we're going to do this deal here, and it should work really, really super well. And like I said, just with a computer fan, and that's like 5 watts, y'all, it should be able to produce very hot air like through the night with no problem. I guess I could always just wrap that with kale wool, like the insulation you put around the forge, and I could run it up to temperature. It would be fine. But that crap is kind of expensive. Probably $150 to wrap that in kale wool. But it well worth its money. I mean, that's probably one of the products that, yeah, it's carcinogenic. It's the dust from it. Don't, like, once you use it, make sure that it has, or before you use it, I should have said, that's how I should say it. Before you use it, make sure it has that surface put in it before you get it up to like 2,000, 2,400 degrees with gas or higher. Make sure it has that surface stuff. Low temperature, it's not that bad. But respect it. Still, it's not something you want to breathe. But as far as density and far as like holding back extreme temperatures, kale wool, and that's KAO. I'd have to look it up, but I'm saying it like a redneck, y'all. But that's how we pronounce it, KAO. And but good stuff as well. And wonderful stuff for fire, heat, and all that. Forge temperatures, wonderful stuff. But or wrap it with concrete, and that would just make the thermal mass even bigger. And like I said, get a 55-gallon caster dolly, and then build it up from that. And I think that's what I'd probably do. Because you can touch the concrete on the outside would never get over a couple hundred degrees. It's not like steel. It won't conduct heat like steel. So even stainless steel conducts heat the least of all of them. But you don't. Once you get something up to like 700 degree core temperature, the steel will be 700 degrees as well. Unlike concrete, where you can have a core temperature that's far hotter than the outside surface of the concrete, just because you're not going to put the pipes farther over. You're using insulation as thermal mass and insulation. I don't know how to say it any better, but it just the thought that came to my mind is what I'm trying to get at, because that little dude is going to get too hot to deal with, and now a fuel tank. And when I was saying $500, that would actually make two of these things, because a fuel tank is 24 inches wide, like way over here. 8 inches. This is 16, so take half of that and make it bigger. The big tank is what I'm trying to get at. That's a small, thin semi-tank, 24 inch, 22 inch, something like that. But they're 6 feet tall. Even at 3 feet, and just leave the bottom open is what I'm saying. Cast everything in reverse, leave the bottom open, and then put a plate. How to say that is like put anchors into the bottom and then screw a plate to it. That's what I was going to do here. Is because this is not connected like this, but it'll flip upside down and fall in the tank if I mess with it. Yeah. But when I fill this full, is whether it's sand or whatever, is just put enough in where I could make an anchor point for the center to screw it down. And then I could fill it all the way up with sand as well. But that's 6 and 6, a lot of different things. Because I was wanting to make a center from here, I was wanting to neck that down. I don't know if I'm going to do that, to be honest, The big reducer coupling is like $16 all by itself. It's like, oh Lord, I may just get a stainless steel cap, a fencing cap for a couple bucks and stick it over the top. Call it good enough. It's heavy enough stainless steel, especially with that bung that's welded in there. That's quarter inch plate. It's more than heavy enough. It's not going to deform. And the other stuff was like paper thin. This is actually substantial metal, so it'll be fine. Don't know anymore. We're going to get off this thing without going into a big rant. But I got to say, be responsible, y'all, and hold the politicians and the billionaires accountable. If poor people can starve, rich people can pay their fucking taxes. That simple. All right, talk to you there.